Darren scrolled through Instagram, his heart sinking. Post after post showing collectors with walls of graded cards, 5-figure grails, and shelves lined with sealed wax. He glanced at his own small collection, a handful of raw cards, and a binder, a few slabs. Was he even a real collector? But then he remembered a year ago, he had nothing. No organization, no focus, just scattered cards and shoeboxes. He had come a long way. Why was he measuring his success against someone else's highlight reel? The only comparison that really mattered was between himself and who he was yesterday.
Ridiculous fondling cardboard.
What is up? And welcome to Fondling Cardboard. I'm your host, Mike Lakusta, aka the Golf Card Collector. This is the 12 Rules for Hobby series, where I take the powerful lessons from Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life and break them down, helping you become a better collector and, more importantly, a better version of yourself, both in the hobby and in life. In yesterday's episode, we hit on rule number 1, stand up straight. Good posture is a sign of accepting responsibility for life. And one of the examples I gave leads into today's topic. And so I'll just get it out there. Rule number 2, compare yourself to yesterday. Focus on your own progress instead of comparing yourself to others. Now, this is about as cliche of a rule as you can imagine. I mean, whenever people have struggled about their own identity and their own progress, people have always said, don't compare yourself to somebody else's highlight reel. And that became even more widespread when social media became a huge thing. When you've got models and weightlifters showing off their bodies. And even if you are in good condition, or if you're well compensated, you're doing well in your career, there's always somebody way more jacked or way more rich than you. So it's 100% relevant in the sports card hobby, probably even more so than a lot of other hobbies. I mean, golf is a sport I talk about a lot here, and you find it less of an issue for, let's say, a hack golfer looking at a scratch golfer to have a deep sense of insecurity and jealousy. Does it happen? Of course it does. But for some reason, in the materialistic hobby of collecting sports cards, we are much more, we live with much more fragile egos, because at the end of the day, anybody can collect cards. The only barrier to collecting the collection of your dreams is money. Of course, there's one other aspect, and that's whether or not a card is available. And that's, I think, where a lot of collectors like to take their direction, looking for a piece that fits in their lane, in your lane, and is not easy to acquire. It goes back to a concept I talked about with Paul Hickey on the Sports Card Strategy show, where he and I would occasionally butt heads, even though we're good friends. And he would say, I don't understand collecting. I mean, it's funny. He works in sports cards. That's what he does for a living, and he doesn't understand collecting. Go figure. But he would say, anybody, if you have enough money, can just go buy a card. And that's where I try to explain to him, well, as a collector, we understand that too, right? We're not dumb. And that's why the most desirable pieces are based on scarcity, something you can't get. And this whole concept of grading and creating artificial scarcity and population counts based on the condition of a card, or artificial scarcity based on the serial number on the card or the color of the parallel. These are all things to keep in mind as you're trying to consider what is something for you to chase. But I'm going down a little bit of a rabbit hole because today's topic really is about comparing yourself to yourself from the past and not to others. So continuing this, conversation about collecting and pursuing a lane, when I rejoined, let's say, the hobby in full force, because I never truly left. I was always collecting over the decades. But when I came in with a passion, with a fiery passion and an objective of collecting golf cards, and with a desire to create content for golf cards, because I wasn't able to find anything that was helping me learn about the different sets, the cards, and frankly, searching for something to also just inspire passion, because I felt passionate, but there was nothing out there to feed that passion. So when I launched back into this initiative, what do you think I was doing? I was, of course, buying anything that looked shiny, anything that caught my eye. It was pretty aimless. And where am I today? You guys are probably super tired of me mentioning the particular lanes that I love. Diamond Relic golf cards, Goodwin Champions Cosmic Parallels specifically for golf cards. Matthew Wolf as a player collector. I'm probably the only sports card hobbyist to mention Matthew Wolf's name 1,000 times in a sports card hobby series. Like it's clear that I've started to set up these what do you call those little things in bowling? The things that pop out and keep the ball from going in the gutter. I've put up my guards, and I'm trying to protect my lanes. And when I look at someone who has an incredible Tiger Woods collection, like the Tiger Cards Only on Instagram, he's kind of offloaded a lot of his stuff, but when I would just drool over his Instagram page, I would have to remind myself, that guy not only has way more money than me and is able to acquire all of those ridiculously amazing Tiger Woods cards, but that's the lane he set himself. He's going in the ultra high-end Tiger Woods direction. And that is not at all what I've planned for myself. I've chosen these other parallels, this cosmic parallels, these diamond relics, player collecting, whatever other little projects I have. And that's okay. And it even goes back to the rule number 1 that we talked about last week, which was stand up straight, all about confidence and just accepting responsibility for your direction in life. I chose the lanes I'm in, and it's not even fair to myself to feel jealousy and allow that to take over my mind when I've made a conscious decision not to invest 5 figures of my income into ultra high-end Tiger Woods cards. And so I have to accept that. That is my identity in the hobby. And even if my objective was to become an ultra high-end Tiger Woods collector, my journey is mine and mine alone. Everybody starts somewhere. No one builds up wealth or an elite collection overnight. And I remind myself by just thinking back to the first card I ever purchased. The first card I ever purchased was, some ratty old Pokemon card, but basically rags. And some would say the collection I've established now is riches. I'm not gonna go ahead and say rags to riches, but I'll continue this on by, talking about some practical strategies to stay focused. So, for one, track your progress. Keep a spreadsheet, notes, or even like a photo album of your collection's evolution. This has helped me a lot with my Steve Nash collection. I started out with some base rookie cards, then I got some refractor rookie cards, then I got into some Topps Chrome Gold type, high-end Steve Nash cards, and I actually picked up a pretty ultra high-end Steve Nash card recently. I haven't really announced it yet, but I can see my progression. And then the last of my practical strategies would be to unplug. These comparison triggers that you get from scrolling social media are going to make you feel inadequate no matter how prepared you are mentally. So if you limit your time or your focus on engaging with not only social media, but even collectors that that create that feeling, like engage with collectors who inspire you rather than intimidate you. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small they are. And at the end of the day, this collecting journey is like a life. Just like in life, being the best is not really the the goal, being your best self is the goal, but the best, that's not fair. There's always going to be somebody out there with more than you, working harder than you. If you compared your career, your finances, or success to somebody else's highlight reel, you'd always feel behind. Hope you're getting something out of this series, and I hope you stay tuned for tomorrow's episode about rule number 3.
Ridiculous golf card collector.